Thanks, man. Sorry about
No, of
that.
course, no worries.
Yeah, you're in sales, and I'm sure you get it some days you just have back to backs, and I'm
Yeah,
covering for somebody, and so they had something come up with a candidate that I had to handle, and it was like the only time, yeah, it's the whole day.
yeah, no, I know for
Uh,
sure how it is.
yeah, and like I said, I can run a few minutes over to make sure we don't lose any time as long as you can.
Yeah,
Is it Sharif or
yeah,
Sharif? I just didn't want to
yeah,
get it
it's
wrong.
Sharif. You said it right.
Awesome. So, look, I think you're in sales, I'm in sales in a way in recruiting. I'm going to assume we're good at small talk. I'm a big believer in just kind of diving right in and covering everything we can. And I'm going to leave some room on the back end for you to obviously ask questions about the company, the team, the role, all that good stuff. I'm clearly a talker and energetic, though, so if you can
Yeah.
jump in at any point if you got questions. Don't hesitate to fire them back at me.
Okay,
It's not like, doesn't need to be question and answer exclusively, all right?
that sounds good.
Cool, man. So, I think like I do typically start with kind of the same general question, which is just always what's got you on the market applying to jobs. I know you've been with InstaWorks since what was it, October. So like
Yeah.
no aspersions cast on them. Is everything going all right? You're just looking for something better? Walk me through that.
Yeah, definitely. Everything's been good. I would say the biggest reason, one is that it's hybrid, and I recently moved from like downtown Phoenix out to Mesa, Arizona, which give or take, some days could be an hour to like hour and 10 minutes in terms of commute, which is usually like 3 days out the week. Every once in a while, maybe we'll have an extra day in, maybe an extra day out. And I would say that being the main reason I'm kind of on the market and looking for something that would just fit a little bit better. And then second reason is honestly just looking at like new industries, new verticals, new opportunities, especially being that InstaWork their past like their Series D round funding. So they're definitely more established, and kind of just looking for something where I can have a little bit more opportunity to grow, hitting up more maybe inbound leads, more newer accounts. I've definitely found that with a lot of the accounts that we're hitting, it's like, maybe 5 years ago they had an old sales rep that burned the account, or like, so just sometimes looking to be in, more fast pace in a higher growing environment too would definitely be nice in my career.
Yeah, I completely makes sense. So wait, you moved from Mesa or to Mesa? I just
To
want to, not
Mesa.
that matters. To Mesa, okay. So I do want to kind of get into InstaWork and then some of your other experience and like kind of do the quick hitters. But you said something interesting in there on the second reason, which is just like, hey, you know, the account was burned 5 years ago or whatever, looking for, but also maybe some warm leads. So this is not like even a qualifying question. Just want to make sure I'm on the same page with
Mhm.
you. Is it like, hey, I want to go after new business or untouched business, or I want to go after business that's not necessarily been scorned or
Yeah.
burned like in the past? I just want to make sure I followed along with
Yeah. I would say that, I mean, a mix of both. Obviously, it's more fun in sales when you're like the first person to kind of contact them. Maybe they are not too familiar with, your company or what you're selling. There's no stigma around it. So yeah, I would say definitely that would be a nice benefit too of a new role.
you. Awesome, makes complete sense. I just want to make sure I kind of like accurately understood it. So, I think I always look at it as the easiest way is just kind of start and work our way back.
Hmm.
Your resume does a really good job of kind of highlighting specific metrics. I think you're in sales, you understand that's always like where eyes gravitate towards, right?
Yeah, definitely.
I did notice one. I think there's like a couple different avenues to go, but I'm going to ask you a few different questions all at once. It's not a test. So feel free to ask me to repeat myself,
Okay.
but I'm going to give you a high level understanding of like, not to whittle it down to numbers, but what I'm kind of looking for from the InstaWork experience. What's the, I guess let's start with like, what's the goal? What's the segmentation in terms of territory or size of company you can go after? Who are you calling into? What's the revenue goal? What does that deal size end up looking like
Right.
typically? What's the sales cycle look like? Where's the handoff? Is it a one-to-one with the AEs? And then, was there a ramp goal versus a new goal? Because I noticed you hit
Yeah.
like 200 plus goal in your first quarter, which is great.
Yeah.
And I just kind of want to get an understanding, is there an annual goal or is it just quarterly? And then, I know that was 12 and
Yeah.
1, but I kind of
No,
want to get
definitely. I
started.
get I get exactly what you're asking. So I would say to start is, yeah, definitely with the ramp up period. That goal was, I'd say probably like 50% of like when you're actually ramped up, like what the full quota looks like.
Yep.
We have had a few different changes in terms of the quota and what qualifies a deal. So as an SDR, right now on a daily basis, I'm doing about 50 or so outbound touches. Mix of I'll start all my campaigns with like a personalized email. Subject line is completely personalized, as well as like the first two sentences based on either their LinkedIn or social proof. And the main goal is to obviously set up an appointment for our account executives. Being that we're selling a staffing solution, we're based on qualified shifts that a business is looking to fill in their first like F30 days. And if it's above, we went from 20 shifts being qualified to 40 shifts in January. So if it's above 40 shifts, that counts as a qualified demo for us. And yeah, it's pretty much just like I'll set the appointment. I personally like to join all the demos I set, do a quick, maybe, 3-4 minute intro to the account executive, let them know like, hey, this is a little bit what we talked about. This is what we're going to be looking to get out of this call. And then from there, I'll, just be a fly on the wall. I do like to listen and just kind of hear like, hey, how does the conversation go?
On, right?
Say that again?
Yeah, and it can't hurt to like kind of get, not learn, but absorb what's going on and see if you can recall things. Yeah, I love
it. 100%. And I would say that's a big part that's played into my success, as well as working close with the account executives. So we've actually had where most of our SDRs were paired with 2 different account executives. In terms of regions, we have like these kind of super regions. So pretty much West Coast is my region outside of California. And from there, like vertical wise, we're staffing hotels, restaurants, event like setup and takedowns, stadiums, and then warehouses as well are really big, especially during the summertime. They have a lot of turnover. So, and even some hospitals were able to staff just with like general labor. But yeah, I would say social proof is what's been the biggest, differentiator in helping me hit a lot of qualified meetings, being that I'll hit my account executive up, like, hey, can you just walk me through the last 5 to 10 deals you closed? And then from there, I'll get some of those pain points and literally say we work with us like Swire Coca-Cola warehouse. I'll pull them up on Google Maps and pretty much search, whether it's on ZoomInfo, Google Maps, all the other warehouses with similar revenue, similar headcount. And I would say anywhere from SMB to, I believe if they're doing, I think enterprise, there is between like 5 and 10 million a year in revenue is kind of what I'm focused on. So SMB, a little bit of mid-market. I do have a few multi-location deals that, like, being that our enterprise team is a little bit smaller, I can kind of spearhead some of those. But yeah, using social proof of calling up those warehouses like, hey, we're actually speaking with John, the general manager over at Swire Coca-Cola. They said summertime with the heat, a lot of workers are burning out. Does that sound familiar? And it just makes it super easy to start that conversation and not label them or like ask like, oh, what challenges are you facing? But kind of give them a competitor's problem and see what their side of the story is. And then from there, it's just, pitching them like, hey, you mentioned your hiring team is spending 15 hours and it takes you guys 21 days to get someone, in if you actually have a need. Would it make sense? We spend 15 minutes and I'll actually show you how within 24 hours we could have people that are ready to work and can lift, 50 pounds in your warehouse.
Love it. No, I think one of the things I'm curious, and this is probably more for the AE that you work with, and it's less relevant for the SDR role, but I'm just genuinely curious. What's that sales turnaround? Because I've worked staffing a little bit. Like I've mostly been more boutique recruiting, but I've worked like as a recruiter for some staffing agencies. So what's the turnaround? Is it like, hey, you call them next day, they're signed up, or after the demo? Is it a week process? Is it a month-long process? What's that look like?
Yeah, so the cool part is we're very flexible when it comes to that. Most of the time, it's really depending on how fast or slow the company, the partner wants to move forward. But like with our we have a account like managers on the onboarding team. If we had a client and like their warehouse is just on fire, like they needed people yesterday, all we have to do is create them a quick account within our app, And then on the onboarding, like the account manager will pretty much create a job posting, and within 24 hours, we actually could have people filled. So like here and there, we do have like one call closes, like, hey, let's just get this set up. We need people, but as well with some of the multi-location ones where it's got to go from like the HR manager to like the chief operations officer. Obviously, those deals can take a month, and like the more locations we add in, the more people have to give that approval. So, but yeah, our sales cycle, it could be as short as a day or as long as 2 months.
Awesome. And like I said, it's kind of, it's not that it's not relevant
Mhm.
for the SDR role, but it is just something I like to make sure I touch on.
Yeah,
The
definitely.
other thing is, it seems like, at least prior to InstaWork, and I do want to dive into Decide a little bit,
Hmm.
right? Before we do, I know you've done some recruiting yourself.
Yeah.
You also did some real estate, and then you also were like a co-founder, which kind of is like around recruiting as well,
Yeah.
right? Is that are all those still ongoing? Were those just side projects? Was the realty thing, hey, I'm pursuing this career? And I'll ask it in the way that, quite frankly, is going to make me sound, excuse the crassness here, like a dick. But I'll ask it in the way of like, wait, well, how come you can't just pick one and go with it? Have you not had
Yeah.
success in any one of them? Like, what's the, if that question was asked of you, how would you kind of frame it?
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, how I would frame it is definitely real estate was like my introduction to the sales world. I really started in sales when I was like 14 or 15. My dad, he's been in real estate sales for probably 30 years. And I was just like taking properties he would get in like the foreclosure auction and putting them on Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace. And when they would sell, I would take some of the calls in, but he's throwing like 14, 15-year-old me $400. And I'm like, oh, shoot, I like sales.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so from there, when I turned 18, got my real estate license, did full-time real estate for about a year and a half or
Did you
so.
say when you turned 18, you got your real estate license?
Yeah,
That's awesome, man.
yeah. So that was really cool. I loved it up until a little bit after like that we had the pandemic and then the interest rates kind of flipped on us and we went from like that was 3% interest rates to like 7%. I just kind
Mm-hmm.
of start seeing the shift in the market, and that's when I learned about like software sales. Decide gave me a chance, and I was there for a year and a half to 2 years. As started as an SDR, got promoted to an account executive, and yeah, in 2022, that's when the tech market kind of had a downturn. They had to let go a little bit more than a third of the company.
Yeah.
And from there, I kind of was just in a space of, I was, looking into should I go account executive? Should I go SDR? And that's when I stumbled upon executive recruitment firm named Kinsley Sarn. And yeah, I was with them for a few months, did some executive recruitment for like some of these C-level roles. And that's what actually pushed me to launch kind of like that virtual hired agency that you see where we did a lot between partnering with not only other like social media, like content creators who maybe had an audience of people who were looking to break in tech, but as well on the B2B side, partnering with a lot of companies who were say, hey, we're looking to build out a sales team or we're looking to build out just like our like C-level suite. So we did a lot of like executive placement, recruitment for that as well, and then we kind of automated it. And I mean, it's like I kind of saw the executive recruitment go down a little bit, but we had it to a point where it's like we've got everything in place. We maybe had 10 team members, 7 virtual assistants, and then obviously I had some other like co-founders who kind of could spearhead. And yeah, from there we pretty much automated that. And I really do like staffing, and that's what brought me back to staffing at
InstaWork,
Instawork.
right?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then I mean from there, yeah, everything's been good with Instawork. It's really just kind of the location, and just seeing, what new opportunities are on the market, what new industries and verticals. And yeah, I've always been interested. Like AI has been super helpful with automating the virtual hiring agency. So it's like now that I'm seeing this next wave of AI come, it's really cool to just dive in and to see like how are the best top businesses using it. And
It's actually crazy how it helps with the personalization stuff. Like, how you use that in
yeah,
your outbound messaging. Like, honestly, like it really does a lot of the, like, there are certain tools, especially in recruiting, that do that on that. LinkedIn's got it now.
yeah,
There's all these other things. And I remember when it first started coming out, and it was like, wasn't bad, but it wasn't like perfect. it's getting like
Yeah, I know.
pretty good. Yeah, it's not concerning. It's interesting, I would say.
Yeah.
You got to evolve with the times, though. No, I hear you. I think I have one or two quick questions, and I have one or two I have to ask everybody on every interview, and then I have one little note. Let me start with the little note because it's just an easy one. Don't Please don't take this personal, or get. I don't want you to feel like I'm calling you out. I did notice, and most people probably wouldn't, a quick typo on InstaWork where you wrote place 100 daily outbound touches. You're missing the U on that touches. Just a heads
Oh,
up.
shoot. Thank you.
No, you're good. I just wanted to give you a
Yeah,
heads up
thank
so
you.
future reference. It's not the kind of thing that sinks somebody from getting a job, but it's like, hey, just for your own
Yeah.
knowledge. Cool. Because I think you're at 50 to 100 plus is what you were saying. Like, was
Yeah.
that some early numbers? Okay, cool. The other thing I was going to ask on Decide, right? You were, what was that? 117 to quota in 2022. What was that quota around demos, or was it around revenue from demos that closed in sales? What did that look like?
Yeah, that was for closed deals. So that's kind of how we were, because we were doing like it was like a programmatic, it honestly was AI, but it was like early AI. They were calling like machine learning for placement. And we would pretty much subsidize like 70-80% of the ads for free. It was a $2,500 pilot. And then from there, like if they performed well on our platform, we could scale their spend like exponentially. So yeah, we were just pretty much looked at on like closed pilots.
Love it. I think one thing, and I'm a big believer in like not messing around, being like, hey, you're great, there's no problems, and then reject or move forward.
Right.
One thing I think you'll come up against here, because I do like your background experience, I like the mentality, and I like the approach and the metrics driven kind of everything. One thing I'll say is a little bit different here is there's going to be less of that. Yes, SDRs are always volume, so it's calls, it's touch points, it's reaching out, but it's going to be high level financial institution bankers. And not that you can't have those conversations, but those are a little bit, you're going to do more of that front end research.
Yeah.
Right? And they're longer sales cycles, and so they take longer to pay off for the AEs even, right? We're talking
Right.
3 to 6 months to even 9 months. So that is going to be the adjustment. Is not going to, again, it's a little different on the front end for your specific role, but it is something that I just want you to be aware of. That would be the major adjustment here. And the product you're actually pitching is going to be both simple, almost more simple, but also much more technical and involved.
Yeah.
Again, not saying you can't do it. I'm just kind of mentioning these are the things that I think to keep in mind. Love it though. So I think I do want to. What happened with, you said the RIF was like what was it, 33% of the workforce?
Yeah.
How much was that? That sucks. I was in one too. Like it blows. But what was the sales team? Was it like lower, higher? Like on the sales team, was it a significant number?
Yeah, it was a significant number. I mean, they had let go, which I was kind of surprised because I was in my first few months as an account executive there, but it was like almost everyone, like even the account executives they had hired in like the last 2 years, they kind of had let go. So like there were more like senior account executives that we had went to conferences together, and like they had closed some deals, like we closed deals together, and yeah, they had to like let go a pretty significant amount of the entire SDR team, a few of the account executives, and it was like they kind of moved like my manager, like the account executive managers into more of like a hybrid, like just overall like director of sales type of like role where they were kind of,
you had just been promoted, so it's like while they liked you clearly, you're kind of still like first into the AE role, and so you kind of got a crappy spot there. That sucks, man. So I do, like I said, I want to make sure I leave you room to ask questions. So let me ask the 2 quick hitters, and I've got a million more and probably some condescending advice because it's a Friday afternoon. I'm just in one of those moods.
I feel it.
But no, I would say for why you're looking, I would frame it differently if the team moves forward, not because they're not going to want to hear the remote thing, because we offer fully remote, and that's great.
Right.
I think that's a valid reason, but I think developing the scale, take the free advice that you can tell me to F off or leave it, but I think it's solid. It's, hey, looking for remote, but also getting into, those SaaS sales with longer sales cycles, further developing the sales toolkit, and, more involved, you could frame that however you want, right? Like more complex sales, essentially. That's yours was a strong answer, and I'm not like saying it was bad. I'm saying that's something I would probably like slightly reframe it. If either we move forward or just in general,
Yeah,
it's something
I
that
do like that. That does make sense. I mean, because with the longer sales
yeah, I
cycle,
just didn't want it
you
to come
can,
across like I'm being like talking
yeah.
about like, oh, you should do this, this, and this. I don't know you.
No, I like that though. I mean, you can be more personalized, and it is also like you're developing long-term relationships as well. Because I do see it
Well, no,
with,
and I would like to move you forward, so I'm giving you that answer for the next steps. If I'm not the end decision maker, if the team wants to move forward, I'm just going to tell you right now, I want to move you forward.
thank you.
That's the answer I would give, though. Not because they'll like it. It's just I think it's a good rule of thumb.
Yeah.
So, 2 quick questions I have to ask everybody. So, first, I think I asked it on the application, but you don't require any kind of sponsorship to continue working in the States, right?
No.
And then compensation. I don't like to dance around it. I can't ask what you've earned or are earning, nor do I care. I'd love to understand what your package needs to look like, whether it's salary and total compensation, just to make something enticing to you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I did do a little bit of research. I believe the budget range you guys had set aside was in like the 60 to 80K range a year.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. It's much closer to the lower end. I just want to be very transparent about that.
Okay.
Not like it doesn't mean 60, but the salary is probably closer to that.
Okay, so that would be base, and then what are you guys looking at in terms of like on target earnings?
Sure. So, and you're based. I was going to say you're in
Phoenix, so like West Coast.
Phoenix. Yeah, I was just thinking it's not localized, but I'm just thinking because I know California has certain restrictions. I would guess the salary is going to be in that 60 to 65K range. 60 is probably more likely. Just
Okay.
a heads up. OTE is around 100.
Okay.
I believe it's uncapped for SDRs. I know it is for AEs. I believe it is for SDRs as well. Does that work for you? Is there a better way about it?
No, that works.
All right. Awesome. Well, I mean, I could launch into all the things I think are going to be important to you, but I'd rather, give you the floor. What can I answer for you about the company, the team, the role, growth path, whatever it might be?
Yeah. I would say the question I definitely would start with is just maybe one timeline for having this role open, and then as well, how many, BDRs are you looking to add? And then the last piece of that question is like, why now are you guys looking to add a couple BDRs?
Great questions. By the way, I'm writing down in my notes here. I'm just catching up on a couple of things with the call, so I want to make sure I answer this. So essentially you're asking, A, what's the timeline of the interview process? Why are we opening it now? How many BDRs are on the team? And why are we hiring for it specifically?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think first and foremost, timeline, sales is always going to be sooner the better, right? At the end of the day, it's like, that doesn't mean we're going to hire the wrong person tomorrow or in a rush or like anything like that. But we can move relatively quickly with the exception of one stage of the interview process, which can be delayed solely due to scheduling. The process is pretty quick. It's a call with me, call with the hiring manager. There's a project that takes 2 to 3 hours probably of total work for you. It's not like anything crazy.
Okay.
That you submit, review with the hiring manager on another call that's 30 to 45 minutes. So that's 2 steps, but with a little bit of a project. And then the final stage call, not always because it's really availability dependent, with the CEO.
Okay.
He does still like to be involved in almost every final interview.
That's nice.
He's a tough interview, I'll tell you right now. But his schedule is insane.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So that's the only delay on like that front leg, and we're not going to be like, oh, let's talk to 8 people moving to this stage, wait 2 weeks, then it's relatively quick. For feedback, I should have an update for you probably by Monday or Tuesday of next week. Wednesday at the latest. Feel free to always follow up with me. I never have any issues with somebody emailing and checking in.
Okay. Cool.
For the role, there were 4 BDRs and no AEs with our sales leaders, and our CEO had closed business. We already are in 100 to 150 of the 6,500 FDIC insured financial institutions and credit unions in the country. We're already cash flow positive with no VC backing. So we are unicorn status in that way. Like we're really strong, and we're going to probably get VC backing off the record, but I think
definitely. I mean, with the numbers,
Yeah. And on top of that, we closed all of that business with a limited team. So when we start hiring AEs, and I'll explain that in a second, we're going to have a lot of opportunity because there's all those other institutions that we haven't even touched yet, right? So all that white space you were talking about, right?
Yeah.
Those fields we'll kind of call into are there. Now, we might have reached out to them, but I think there's likely a higher, there's a good chance. The other thing is it's less focused on, hey, go after this size or this size or this size company. And it is solely focused on, let's get in an assigned territory. The country is going to be split into 4, equal revenue opportunity within it, probably geolocated for where you are, but it doesn't require it to be.
Right.
And it's really going to be focused on just getting logos, because everybody that uses our platform has loved it and will attest to it on our website and everything. So we know the business is there. It's now just a matter of how can we get more logos on. As for the team, there were 4 BDRs, 2 were promoted into AEs recently. There's a clear growth path. The hiring manager for this role oversaw BDRs, he doesn't want to teach you everything about sales,
right,
but he does like to help people grow their careers from SDRs into AEs. And one thing I thought was interesting about your background, quick tangent, you did that 3 months as an AE and then you were kind of looking at both. You're in the exact situation that's tough where it's like, well, you're not going back from an AE to an SDR. That can be a bad look on paper. You're a recruiter, you get it.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, you only had 3 months. It's hard to get another AE from that. And it wasn't your fault. It was a layoff, right? So that was, quick aside. So there is a clear growth path. It's probably a year or 2 years, but it's not 5 years. It's not promised either. It's contingent on your success.
100%.
Our ideal state here, we're going to probably hire, I would say ASAP, definitely by end of year, definitely much sooner. We're going to have 4 AEs and 4 BDRs. It will be a 1-to-1. You won't report into the AE. It will be the director of sales, but it will be, you're working alongside.
Collaborating. Okay.
Cool.
That's really cool.
Sorry, I know I took a long answer there, but
no, that's perfect. You explained everything like really, really well.
I'm great at my job, man. I appreciate you.
Of course. Appreciate you. I would say this next question, obviously I see, you guys are using Google Suite. What, in terms of like internal communication, are you guys using Slack? And then
Slack, G Suite, and then Salesforce for our sales.
CRM.
Have you used Salesforce before? Is that going to be a new thing?
Definitely.
I assume
that's what I'm using now.
Everybody has, so.
Yeah. Now, right now I'm using Salesforce and then SalesLoft to like do like the outbound motions, and Chili Piper to book meetings, and then we've got Gong as well too.
Oh, cool. I like Gong for like training and like learning and picking up on things. I will say G Suite, I'm not a huge fan of the video thing, but it is what it is.
Really? What do you like? You like Zoom more?
It's Zoom's expensive. G Suite's free, so for a startup, it's great. It's easy when everybody has Gmail, but not everybody has Gmail, and I think Zoom has more function. That's aside, but Zoom has more functionality that I like, or maybe I just got used to it. Is really probably what it came down to.
Yeah.
Cool. What else, man?
I would say last question. I mean, I know you've been here for, I think it was like 7-8 months or so.
Yeah, like 4 or 5.
4 or 5? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I mean, just from kind of what you've seen, how fast you guys are growing, is there anything that, like, from everything you've learned, would you maybe do differently if you had to start over? Or, like, just advice that you would give to someone starting brand new?
Definitely on the advice, because I love giving advice, and at least when it's solicited sometimes. So, but I will say, I don't know if there's anything I necessarily do differently. I think one thing I learned, I took a big break after a riff at my last company. Purposely, I put myself in a position to. This kind of was like, hey, it's a contract opportunity well below what I'd earned and in a role below what I'd done. But it was like, I'll do it, and somebody I'd formerly worked with, just to get back in the flow of it, right? And like see how it went. It was a new space to me. I wanted to learn a new space. I'd always been in ed tech, and I wanted to get into to see what this AI and finance space was like. I've always willing to bet on myself. Within 2 months, I was promoted full time into a better role, and also, from contract to full time. So, not necessarily what I would do differently from advice or expectations. I think here's the deal: you've been in startups. Some of that, there's a lot of times where you're drinking from the fire hose, but you're also trying to implement processes, procedures that are going to help you scale to where you want to go. But you're having this pushback of, I need to get the stuff done that's right in front of me, both from a workload perspective, but also from the no process thing is actually hurting me here because we don't have one. And so it's like, can you be flexible enough to work without a process?
Yeah.
Or work with a process, really depending on the situation, especially in a highly regulated industry. That can be a lot. The expectations aren't work 4 a.m. and talk to our India team, which is where we were founded initially, at 3 a.m. your time or anything like that. It's work and get the job done, basically.
Right.
The CEO, I don't know if you've ever worked for an Indian-based company. I haven't, so I can
Yeah,
only
the
speak
one
from
I am in now, Instawork, is like we've got an entire like dev team
I
based
can
in
only speak
India.
from my own personal experience, but it's a different work culture, is what I'd say. And I think
Yeah,
there's a more direct nature. And our CEO is stretched so thin doing a lot of different things while we hire those VPs in underneath him. And I think he can be considered abrasive by others, and not everybody's built for it. I don't mind somebody being direct. If
yeah,
something's done wrong and he's going to come jump down my throat, okay, I'm willing to stand up for myself when he's wrong, and I'm also willing to bite the bullet and say you're right if something went wrong. It's never personal, and it's not as bad as I think I'm probably making it out to be.
yeah,
But you do have to have thick skin, because not everybody's
yeah. I mean, I feel
cool
like
with
thick
that.
skin from sales, you'll get that
Sales and
after your
sports
first call.
growing up, like I'm just like one of those people where it's like it doesn't bother me, but I like to set expectations. So it sounds like you'd be good with that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, awesome. Cool, man. And so, you were track and field. I don't know if you had as many people yelling at you though.
Yeah, a decent amount between track and field and like cold calling for real estate. I've heard some choice words talking to some homeowners.
Yeah, and it's really not that bad. I'm almost like overdoing it on that front, because I want people to like
Yeah.
Glassdoor reviews. I'll tell you right now, they suck. It's because when you hire people, and none of it was in sales, when you hire people that aren't expecting that or aren't ready for that, it doesn't work out. It's
Yeah.
not as I promise you, like I'm one of those people where if I'm being disrespected to a severe way, I'll walk away. I'll just be like, yeah, it's not for me, right?
Yeah.
Never even close to that. I wouldn't stress about it whatsoever. And it definitely won't happen in the internal teams. It's more just the CEO has a very direct style. So for next steps, I should know more by Monday, Tuesday about getting you set up with the hiring manager for that 30-minute call. Good news or bad news, I'm not the end decision maker. I'll push for you, but there's only so much, right?
Yeah.
What I would say is follow up with me if you haven't heard from me. I'm here to be your advocate. If we do move forward in the process, I'm here to answer questions on benefits, prepping for interviews. What should I do here? Like I'm a big believer in helping people grow if I can, and I think
I appreciate that.
Yeah, and again, if it goes the other way, I'll let you know, and it is what it is. But like, always reach out to me. I don't want you to ever think I forgot about you. I probably just got busy. If you haven't heard from me by Wednesday.
Okay. Thank you, Nick. It was a pleasure, bro.
Appreciate it, man. Have a great weekend. All right.
You too, man. Peace. We gonna see.